Hello. It's 1 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, and the reason I'm kind of chuckling here is because I just streamed my devotional, and I streamed it on my personal channel, which I don't do anything on. I don't even know why that was up, but the whole stream went out to my personal channel, so I was like, oh no, and so I don't know if there's any way to transfer it, so I just deleted it, and I'm going to do it again, this time on Life Song channel as it's supposed to be. Funny when things don't go the way you plan. Anyways, here we are. It's Wednesday, a bit of a drizzly day here in Nova Scotia, but things are going well as we start the new year. I hope it is with you as well. So I'm going to just launch into our devotional, and forgive me if it's a little disjointed. I just said it all, so I'll feel like I'm repeating myself, which I guess I am technically, but not to you. Anyways, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 22 is what we're looking at today. But I'm going to read verse 21 because 22 is halfway through a sentence, so I want to read 21 too, just so we can get the flow. Verse 21 says this: "My son, let them not vanish from your sight. Keep sound wisdom and discretion." And then verse 22 says, "So they will be they'll be life to your soul, and adornment to your neck." And so that's the part we're going to focus on today. They'll be life to your soul and adornment to your neck. Yesterday, when we were looking at that verse 21, we talked about how there's these rhythms of life we get into, a flow of life, and we get used to the habits of life. It's really important. God designed life to have a flow to it that's a very natural and good flow. It's what it's meant to be. We often have a distorted, diseased version of life. It's not so good in that. But part of wisdom is learning how to live in that flow of life. And so to do it in a proper and healthy way. And so yesterday we talked about how our sight, what we allow to fill our eyes, to fill our sight, fill our attention, ends up filling our life and actually contributes to that flow of life, the rhythms we end up having in our life. And so we need to be very careful what we fill ourselves with through our eyes, what we look at and pay attention to. And so following from that is the idea: if you will keep the ways of God in your sight, keep sound wisdom and discretion, the idea of right and wrong and knowledge, and it's all that goes together. If you do that, then it will be life to your soul and adornment to your neck. And so here's this idea, once again, of kind of the rhythm of life, that you will have this kind of energy or this satisfaction of self, right? Your soul, and the idea of yourself, of your identity, like the fact that you'll have a proper way of living with yourself and understanding yourself and knowing yourself and being yourself. One way to put it is like by learning the ways of God and by keeping them in our attention all the time, we become the person God made us to be. Anything else is to be not what God made us to be. It's a misfit. We don't fit the way we were meant to be made, the way we were meant to be. And you'll end up feeling it in life. You'll have the emotional impact on your life. I just don't fit anywhere. It's just not right. It's just not happy with myself, or whatever the case. And there's a misfit that occurs, or a lack of fitting. And so that this verse kind of reminds us of that. If we'll just keep the ways of God in our eyes, then there'll be life to our soul, be energy to our soul, be feeding to our soul, and an adornment to our neck. So let's go through our 4 questions. Question 1. Why does living God's way make you feel better about yourself? Don't you need to live your way for that to happen? So the popular conception that you'll often see in our world, in all of our media, songs and movies and stories we tell, is the whole "I did it my way" kind of thinking. It's my life, right? I'm going to live. I want to live my life, and you be you, and all that stuff. And so we get repeatedly the message given to us that if you live the way you want to live and do what you want to do, and don't let anybody else tell you what you should do, and so on, then you will be happiest. That will make you you. And that's what we think. Now, no, it's not the way it works, but that's what we think, and that's what we're fed a lot. We're taught that a lot. But if you just follow the logic of that through, if people just live for themselves, if people just live as if they were designed to be about themselves, what a pretty messed up world that would be. Well, what a pretty messed up world it is. You just take a look at the news, and in any day, and you can see people living for their own desires, living them being them all the time, and stepping all over each other and harming each other and abusing each other and oppressing each other and all the things that happen. We see a world full of dysfunction, largely because people they follow that idea of just, I'll do what I want, I'll live for me. Well, we weren't designed by God to be about ourselves. We were designed to be about God. God didn't, sit in heaven one day and go, "Hey, I'm going to create a creature that's just concerned about itself and nothing else." Like, that doesn't even sound noble. That sounds kind of awful. And he didn't design us to be just about ourselves. He didn't say, "I'm going to create you so that you can ignore me and just live whatever you want to live." He created you actually to bear his image, to be like him, and he created you with purpose. And and that's important. I mean, nothing can give itself purpose, and it's really a bit of a mistake if we think we can. Just because we can give purpose to the things we create, because we're its creator, I can take an action, create an action, and I can give purpose to my action. I can say, I am doing this for this reason. But I didn't create me. I didn't make myself. God made me. And so I can't just put purpose on myself. I exist for this purpose. How can anything give itself purpose if it was a created thing? Only the creator can give it purpose. So this is the way it is with God. God made you, and he made you for a reason, his reason. And he didn't consult you about making you. How could he even do that? And so it's just a mistake to think that living for ourselves will bring about your best self. It won't. Question 2. Living God's way can be exhausting. It can be very hard to do what's right all the time, to always be doing the right thing, the godly thing. So how is it that that's supposed to give life to my soul? It sounds like draining, and sometimes it can be like that. We can think that, oh, it's hard to do the right thing, and often it really is hard to do the right thing. Often doing the right thing means sacrificing something. Often doing the right thing means making difficult choices, or having to expend energy, taking the hard path rather than the easy path. And so that's true. There's a cost to doing the right thing. But here's something to think about. Living things get tired. Dead things don't get tired. The fact that something's hard and takes energy from us is part of what it is to be alive. If we just feed ourselves and just take in and don't ever produce, we never sacrifice but only take, if we never work towards something but just accept whatever is, and so on, well, you just inch closer and closer to complete death, right? To atrophy and death. It's not what we're about. God made us to be able to overcome, and even before sin entered the world, he made a garden and said, cultivate it, grow it, to multiply, subdue the earth, like do something, and doing always takes energy. But the question here is, what gives life to you? And what gives life to you is the satisfaction of accomplishment, the satisfaction of doing and being the right thing, doing something worth doing, being some way that has nobility and honor to it. Even though costly, there's a satisfaction that comes with, I did the right thing. A lot of people have gone to their deaths. Not that it's easy to die, but they've gone to their deaths content in the thought that I know that I did the right thing, even though it cost me my life. And that's a true thing. There's a old saying, anything worth doing is worth doing well, right? And that's true. If it's worth doing, and the ways of God are worth doing, the ways of ourselves, they're just kind of selfish, and it's not the way to think. Don't confuse short-term emotional boosts that you get from getting your way with the long-term, ongoing emotional satisfaction of a life well lived. And a life well lived is a life that follows God's ways. Being wrong with God, doing things wrong, that sucks the life out of your soul. That corrupts and destroys, and ultimately, there's no satisfaction in it. Question 3: what does an adornment to your neck mean? So when this proverb says that following God's ways is an adornment to your neck, it's a poetic way of talking, obviously. So what's it mean? Well, it's talking about the idea of having something to be kind of proud of, so to speak, in the good sense, not the sinful pride, but in a good sense of knowing who you are. Like, so the idea of an adornment piece of clothing that would distinguish you in some way from another person, or show people that you're part of something, like a uniform. We might say in our age, it'd be like wearing a uniform or a hat or something that demonstrated who you were. And so in a sense, it's saying by following the ways of God is like putting something on you that helps you and everyone around you see what kind of person you are, and something that you can be proud of. It would be a noble thing. And it's that idea, right? So it's an identity thing. It's basically saying I'm a godly person. I see that. I can see in my life. I don't have to just tell people I am. I demonstrate that I am by keeping God's ways, and by keeping His ways, it's like wearing something that tells everybody what kind of person you are. That oh, you're a good person or whatever. This is a difficult subject because in our world right now, in our particular time, identity issues are huge. Like, the world is so confused about identity and what it means, and so many people are trying to self-identify. They're trying to decide for themselves who they are, or like we said in the first question, what I'm about. We act as though somehow I get to pick who I am, and somewhat you do, and somewhat you don't. But what we end up doing in this attempt to self-identify is we try to redefine categories of existence and say I am this thing whether or not I am, and it's just a very big pile of confusion. We forget that our identity doesn't come merely from internal factors. It does somewhat, but not entirely. It also comes from external measures. And those external measures are beyond your control. You simply either measure up to it or you don't. I could decide to say that I'm a U.S. Navy SEAL. That's what I am. I'm a Navy SEAL. But I'll tell you, you put me beside a real Navy SEAL, you'll soon see how much I'm not, because I don't measure up to them. Their level of excellence is far beyond anything I can do physically. But neither are they pastors, right? So it's just incorrect to think that you can identify yourself in absence of everything else, especially when you realize it was God that made you, right? To follow God's ways makes you godly. You cannot simply say I'm godly because I want to be. You have to follow in that external measure. And if you do, then it's like a garland around your neck, right? It identifies you. So question 4, can't I be whatever I want to be? And the answer to that is, well, no, you can't be whatever you want to be. It's kind of a funny question, but people really seriously think I can be whatever I want. No, you can't. Try to be the King of England for a minute. You go ahead, you walk outside and tell everybody that you're the King of England, and try to access Buckingham's bank account and see what happens. It won't work, because you simply identifying as the King of England isn't the way it works. So no, you can't. If you want to be a goat, you can't be a goat. You're not a goat, because the external measure of what a goat is different than what you are. So no, but you can choose to act. You can choose to live and do things. And if you decide to walk in this way or that way, it will affect your life, and it will affect your identity to some degree. And so you can make choices about how you're going to live. God decided who you're supposed to be, and God decided how you are supposed to live. And He gives that to you. And He says, follow this and you'll be godly. And if you will follow it, if you will learn a rhythm of life that follows God's ways, you will live up to the identity God has for you. You will have chosen to, both internally and externally, you will measure up. But if you decide to walk in the other path, you will fail in your effort. And the external measure of what you're supposed to be, which is a child of God, you'll fail to reach it. And so it'll be lack of life to your soul, and it won't be a garland on your neck. Anyway, that's something to think about. Question today is, who are you? Who are you going to be? And this proverb is encouraging you: walk in the ways of God, and you will find fulfillment and satisfaction of self. And that's nice to have. So, God, I pray you will help us in our pursuit of this, and that you'll help us to do it well. God bless you. Lord willing, I will bring my next devotion tomorrow, probably tomorrow morning, and we'll see you then. Take care.